Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and today we're going to talk about Prophet number 1 from Extreme Studios. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. We're going to be talking about Prophet number 1, obviously from Extreme Studios. This is a character created by Rob Liefeld. He first appeared in Youngblood number 2, now an Image in the 90s over on Rockin Robbie Live. We have covered the entirety of Youngblood Volume 1, including the first appearance of Prophet. Maybe one day we can dust it back off and go through it, but I, in particular, wanted to collect the entire first run of Prophet because of the eventual Stephen Platt work. But, of course, the first artist was Dan Panosian. Now, this must have been early in his career. I didn't know who Dan Panosian was at the time. In fact, I didn't read this book when it first released. I read this book for the first time like a year ago, right? I decided I wanted to dive into the works and the continuity, basically, of Rob Liefeld. I wanted to see what it was about Rob Liefeld's work back in the 90s that made it stand out, that made it work, that made it sell millions of comics. This dude was selling comics like crazy and probably would have sold more if more of them would have come out. All right, but we're going to kick it off with a look at Prophet. This is, I believe, penciled by Rob Liefeld, inked by Dan Panosian. You see the Panosianisms, you see the Liefeldisms, and you got Kiko on the coloring. And at this time, Kiko was like one of the premier digital colorists. This was very new at the time, digital coloring. He was one of the premier colorists to work digitally, and he pretty much only worked for Rob Liefeld. The dude got a lot of money to color Rob Liefeld, but let's crack this one open. It's got a date in here of October 1993. Prophet in Prophecy, created, written, and layouts by Rob Liefeld, pencils and inks by Dan Panosian, Brian Tallman on the colors, color separations by a whole bunch of people from Extreme Colors. Rob Liefeld really invested in digital coloring and those computer techniques back in those days, and they kind of paid off because at the time, it was kind of revolutionary, and it was a way different thing than most of us were used to seeing. Led to some of the success, I'm sure. Kurt Hathaway on the lettering. The editor, Eric Stevenson, who we'll know as the publisher currently of Image Comics. We get a nice little recap page letting you know what came before, basically telling you that Prophet was found by Youngblood. He was cut off from his DOC, his DOCC, the Direct Orbiting Command Center. This young dude left this group, or this old dude left the group of the Berserkers. His name is Kirby, so this is a character that's modeled after Jack Kirby. But once again, in 1993, just even having this like Photoshoppy texture back there was kind of revolutionary and blew a lot of us away. And then you open this up, and holy cow, there's a lot going on with this digital coloring. Look at all the molding, all the shaping that's being done in these clouds. That wasn't seen back in these days. Marvel Comics wasn't like this. DC Comics certainly wasn't like this. But Image Comics was, and it wasn't quite there yet. But I'll be honest, I think some of that digital coloring in this issue of Prophet is okay. Mostly in the first bit here. Number 1, color theory works no matter how shoddy the coloring actually is. Like the actual execution of the coloring, but the choices, the yellow in the backgrounds, the purples in the foregrounds, the orange and the red right there, it pops. It makes these foreground characters distinguish themselves from the background, and it actually has a really cool visual style and sense to it. Now this is laid out by Rob Liefeld. One of the things that I think Rob Liefeld soars at is dynamic layouts, dynamic composition, energy. His characters break panel walls. They're all over the place, but there's also, because of that energy, or I should say, as a for the energy, we sacrifice consistency sometimes. So it's nice to see Dan Panosian coming in. These are obviously Dan Panosian lines and works. Big, thick hatching marks that a lot of the dudes back in the day, I remember people all the time picking all the Extreme and Image books apart and talking about how it just didn't make any kind of sense. Like technically, it wasn't technically sound. But at the same time, you can make a comic that's technically sound that's boring as hell. You can also make a comic that's not technically sound, that's exciting. And to be honest, I think even as an adult man reading this book, I think this is a very exciting comic. But it starts off, there's Prophet, cool hood, cool first page. We move in, there's this ship with all these robots coming out. They're here to fight Prophet. Prophet's got these cool, like, jagged swords. Pay attention to those because it gets a little bit inconsistent what swords he has and what he doesn't. So he's got these jagged swords here, and then these robots come in, and we get this giant centerfold type spread right here. I used to be so annoyed by this for a while in my life, but also at the same time back in the day, I loved stuff like this. And throughout all of this is just a bunch of Bible quotes. So Rob Liefeld is the scripter here, and it's all just Bible quotes. And like literally starting with like one of the most popular Bible quotes ever from Psalm 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The Lord my God is with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Blah, 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 all that stuff. But he is Prophet. He is a Christian-themed hero, but it's not a Christian-themed book. It is an extreme book. But here's where I start seeing the inconsistencies. So he's got his two jagged swords. He chops one of these robots in two. There's a jagged sword just off in the air there, and then he's got one of their swords. They have these swords that are not jagged. He's got one jagged sword. This one's no longer in his hand. He's got that one in his hand. Did we miss something? Is there something that takes place between this panel where he's got both of his jagged swords, they got their swords, and then to this big double-page side splash? Like, are we missing something here? I feel like we're missing something here. But anyway, more Bible quotes, big explosive action, and I don't care. There's a lot of stuff that's not sound technically about this drawing, but at the same time, it's badass. I mean, that's what you want. This, of course, is on a glossier paper, so those colors don't sink in as much. And in the beginning, the colors work for me, right? When there's more of a contrast between them. But as we get closer in, it starts getting a little bit more muddy. But man, the sense of motion and energy here as he's beheading that robot. I really love that bend in that figure. I love this page right here, splitting this dude right into two and dividing this panel down here. Tom Scioli did this in the Prophet 30th anniversary remake that they did, which is really cool to check out. And if you want, let me know in the comments, and I will definitely dig out my copy of it, and we can go through that. Really love this vertical stuff right here. I love this look. That's a very Rob Liefeld face right there, but with the Panosian ticks. But he's basically just taken out all of these dudes. He's done with the Bible quotes. He's like, those passages race through my head, giving me confidence, giving me strength. And he's continuing to fight. Now we're starting to see more of the dangers of the digital coloring and where this path is going to develop and where it's going to lead. More orange, more brown, more kind of just getting in the way of each other and not being as clearly defined as it is in these first couple pages. Like, look at the difference. That is visually striking. This starts to get just a little bit more muddy, a little bit more just kind of generic, right? But at the same time, maybe there's more passion and energy in these first pages, and then when they realize they're getting closer to a deadline, because all of these books were like notoriously late, notoriously behind on deadlines and stuff like that. So he's trying to get up to the ship. He's talking and he's describing his life. He's describing the fact that his father was a preacher and he learned everything from his dad. His dad, though, was killed by Hitler's forces during World War II. So you get a little bit of that backstory. He talks about how his dad inspires him for a cause, not for money, not for power, but for the cause, to combat evil in all of its forms. Now, a book like Prophet is a huge influence on the book I'm working with my buddy Kevin on, which is Amortex. Like, there's a lot of prophetisms in Amortex, but hopefully maybe just a little bit more clean. So the art is already starting to get a little bit weaker here, but it still has that sense of motion, that sense of movement. I like this ladder motif and effect right there. And then we cut to him getting into this place, and he's talking about Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, Hitler, Graves, Darkthorn. Those are image villains right there. All lieutenants in the war against light. I enter not knowing the countenance of the latest lieutenant I face. I really like that line for some reason. I enter not knowing the countenance of the latest lieutenant I face. And then, good Lord, no. And then we get another one. There's like 3 of these, I think, in here. And he sees this chick, Mary, And then another Bible quote from John, but behold, the hand of him that betrayeth me is on the table. And he's like, Mary, no, how can it be? How can she see my face? Can she see my face? The pain that I am feeling, the betrayal, the hurt. So he's like freaking out because who's Mary? I have no idea. Maybe we'll find out who's this dude. We have no idea. But he reveals his hood, and it's prophet himself. My God, no. And I really do love this. This is very much, you can see the Rob Liefeld layout in that one 100%. And then he snaps out of it and awakens. He's in a dream. So there's Kirby, modeled, of course, after Jack Kirby. He's a small little dude. He's trying to help Prophet out. But now you're seeing, though, what I'm talking about with the coloring. They're adding in some of those magentas, the red, but it's the color gradients and the way it's shaping. It's not quite working right. And it's almost like, it's almost working against the line work, if that makes sense. So I don't know. There's elements of the coloring I do like this sky right here, and even the sun. I really like that. But then down here, it just kind of gets, it's just not working. But Kirby's doing a little bit more exposition, being like, hey man, you're just having a dream. Don't worry about it. He goes, well, don't worry. It was the same dream. He's like, it's just because you need to be hooked up to your satellite. That's Kirby's answer to everything right now. Hook back up to your satellite, get your powers, and the dreams will stop. And he goes, but Mary was in it this time. I love this bit. He's like, well, that's more like it, kiddo. Girls are a common thread in my dreams. It was nothing like that. She was against me. She was mocking me. Still got the prophet number 0, like coupon in there with a cool little foil embossed 0 right there. I don't have a prophet number 0. I wonder if I can still send these in. First shipment will go out 60 days after the final orders are received. All right, so they're talking more about, yes, they have to storm a military installation in order to reconnect him with this satellite that's going to give him power. So that's a Kirby idea right there, right? That's an OMAC idea. He was powered by a satellite, OMAC, the one-man Army Corps. So they're talking about this, and then we get a little bit more of a background on Prophet. We didn't get too much background on Prophet. Prophet was found by Youngblood. He's kind of like a Captain America type thing, a designed super soldier who was in a suspended animation for decades and then found later on by Youngblood. And we get that whole recap right here. The coloring gets a little bit more generic, a little bit more bland, but your typical kind of thing. We also get used to the idea that Kirby was introduced to Prophet because he was the lab assistant of Dr. Wells, who was the person behind the Prophet program. Also, there's a mystery being built up of what was Dr. Wells doing, who was paying for these experiments, what was the ultimate purpose. Those are some real bad eyes right here, y'all. I'm not going to lie. As much as I can love some of this stuff here, this dude looks like an alien. That dude looks like an alien hybrid, and it's creeping me out. And then once again, hatching that has no purpose. Not really. That's not real hatching. Like, what is that? I don't care. They're marks, they're ticks, and they work for me. Then you get a really cool panel like this. Look at all that. Ready for it? Grit and texture on the cigar smoke and all that stuff. Really cool, right? But now I do like that somehow, apparently, this dude becomes this dude. But I guess that's what war and 90s comics will do for you. I really do like this panel right here. And then they're talking about, there's this group called the Disciples that Prophet has been prophesized that he's going to have to go up against. And Kirby's like, yeah, well, the problem is you're 50 years too early. Youngblood shouldn't have woken you up. And then you also get the sense and the idea that they have left Youngblood. And Youngblood's not necessarily happy about that, right? Youngblood wanted to study Prophet, or the core, or the government who runs Youngblood, right? They wanted to study Prophet, find out what happened, but they've gone off to reconnect this dude. And the way to do it is to go into a military installation. And now we got Prophet in full battle gear. They're about to go take everything on. And then we cut to an interlude. We're in Washington. This dude's talking about Prophet, how we lost Prophet. We want to study his altered genetic structure. And so we got somebody who's coming in to help us out. And no surprise at all, because this should have been on a page turn, but it's not. There's Mary McCormack from the FBI. She's going to lead the investigation with the assistance of Youngblood and Bloodstrike to find Prophet. So I'm assuming this is the Mary that we're talking about. What's her connection to Prophet's past? How is she there? What's going on? I don't know. Maybe we shall see. All right, so Kirby and Prophet, they get to they're in Anchorage, Alaska, to the Gate Research Center, and that's where they have to go to break into this installation to relink Prophet with this satellite dock, which is the source of his powers. Very Kirby idea. That's cool. And then, boom, they get caught. Guards show up. And right before this, there's a really nice moment where he's like, you got any suggestions before we make our move? No, Kirby. I have prayed to the Lord for strength and wisdom regarding this matter. If you would like, I would pray with you. Sorry, kid. Praying's not my style. I'm too, halt. Boom. And this is where it ends, to be continued. And he says, it would appear the enemy is upon us, Kirby. I don't know why that's my prophet voice from now on. It would appear the enemy is upon us, Kirby. You know, John Boy, that prayer stuff might not be such a bad idea after all. To be continued back here in 6 weeks. Then we got some little pinups. We got a letter from Rob Liefeld right there talking about this book, how important it is to him. This is Victor Bridges and Dan Panosian. I don't know who did this one, but I like it. But it seems familiar to me, almost like a Matsuda or something like that, but I'm not 100% sure. Look at that giant ass weapon right there. I love that. I think it's really cool. That's a cool design. So anyway, that's Prophet number 1. Silly book? Yes. Good book? No. Fun book? Yes. Would I recommend it? I would only recommend this book if, like, here's the thing, y'all. There ain't nothing wrong with enjoying books like Dan Panosian and Rob Liefeld's Prophet number 1. There's nothing wrong with that. I can look at this book and be like, this isn't good. I can also look at Jean-Claude Van Damme's entire body of work and be like, these are not necessarily good movies, but I enjoy them. That's what Prophet is. Prophet is like Cobra. Prophet is like Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Prophet is like one of those ridiculous canon films from the 80s that is so cheesy and so bad and so poorly executed at times that it's just awesome. And in a thought, that's what Extreme Studios is to me, and that's why I'm excited to do even more Prophet. You want to see issue number 2? Well, the more you clamor for it, the sooner it's going to come. So let us know what you think of Prophet. What do you think about the Extreme Studios days? What do you think about Rob Liefeld, Dan Panosian, and everything? Image is very important to comics. This is a very different image than the image we have today, but this image paved the way for the amazing creator-owned self-published books that we have today. So Rob Liefeld is a very important figure in this industry, and Prophet is a part of that legacy. All right. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And check us out over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Station, y'all.